Our first involvement was a quick interview with Joss. Our initial impression was we got really excited because Joss said, hey, look, guys, we're making a superhero movie, and of course there's going to be all kinds of things blowing up and exploding and this and that. But what I'm really interested in is sort of investigating this large dysfunctional family. And I want to push that envelope as far as the studio will let me. And so all three of us kind of lit up and thought, well, now this sounds like fun.
It's called the Avengers Initiative.
I thought I didn't qualify.
Apparently I'm, what is it, volatile, self-obsessed?
And don't play well with others.
Working with Joss was just a real treat. He obviously has a really good balance of how to use big action, but never lose sight of telling a story. And so we would be working on difficult scenes, and then we'd play it for him, and he'd say, well, I like this, I like that, but you've lost this thread. So really what he brought for us more than anything was keeping us focused on the story. And a lot of times the editors who were cutting on the film would come to me and say, working on Avengers is like working on 5 films, and it really was. The other thing about Avengers, at one point when I was spotting with Joss, we watched the whole film, and when it was all done, he kind of shook his head. He goes, I'm sorry I made this so busy, because I think even he was sort of realizing how jam-packed the image is with things happening. You know, designing it was one thing, editing it was another thing, and mixing it was a whole other thing as well. Clearly we had a library built for Iron Man. We created some new effects for Iron Man, but since we hadn't done any sounds created for Hulk, and Thor obviously had been already done by another crew, and so we got the elements from the Marvel folks, and Captain America had a shield, which I think Steve Flick had created that sound. It was a resonance sound. And Thor's hammer, I think Richard King's crew had created that sound of it being picked up and dropped down and it kind of flinging backwards towards him. So, you know, we honored the original signature sounds, which was Marvel's desire. Initially, for Hulk, I started using all sorts of animal vocals and trying to create this larger-than-life territorial rage. And so the feedback coming back from Joss was that I was too much of a monster, too much of a creature. He really wanted to lead with the notion that this is a superhuman, but human in rage. So I just kept trying combination after combination, and finally I thought, you know, I just have to work with human voices. So I started recording myself, and I just started playing combinations. And I would give them, you know, 10 to 15 variations of roars. And Joss listened to them and came back and said, I like this one. And I went back and I looked at the ingredients of what was in that one. Turned out to be Mark Ruffalo, some Lou Ferrigno, and a little bit of me, and 2 people from New Zealand. So I led with that, and I started using those kind of combinations, but changing it up. But the great thing was that Mark Ruffalo had done an incredible bed of variety, so I was always blending him in, and I wanted to specifically because I was really wanting to make sure that I kept the character of Dr. Banner in Hulk, you know, to some extent, as well as Lou Ferrigno, who seemed to have a real knack for just who this character was. And I also just was really honored to be able to use those 2 voices, so they were always a component of it.
I'm in the middle of an interrogation. This moron is giving me everything.
The great thing with the Black Widow scene is that this was a full-on sort of hand-to-hand human fight. It kind of ventures almost into that world of kung fu, but at the same time, it was fun to sort of do these clean karate chops, whooshes, and full-on assault that had nothing but, you know, flesh-to-flesh impacts.
Let me put you on hold.
the mountaintop battle. An editor by the name of Kirsten Mate cut for us. The notion was that we needed to sell not only that Iron Man was very powerful, but that he could actually become more powerful when he realized the power he was up against.
Power at 400% capacity.
How about that?
You know, there's a headbutt. It's like always doing a 1-2 sort of. It's big. No, it's even bigger in response. Thing that the crew really sort of got excited about was that overall it never took itself seriously. Number two, it was always funny. But number three, the action was massive. I mean, some of the biggest stuff we've seen on screen. So I would say that everybody was pretty pumped up working on this film and having a great time.